Two balls and a strike to count on Taylor. Reyes fires, swinging a drive, deep left field. This is one back. Walk him off. Chris Taylor.
What's up, everybody? Welcome into DodgerHeads, presented by DodgerBlue.com. My name is Jeff Spiegel, joined by Matt Moreno. And Matt, it is Instagram postseason for the Dodgers after a tough ending, obviously, in the NLDS to the Padres this year. But the Instagram post that caught my attention, Matt, was Justin Turner's post. As we know, Justin Turner about to turn 38 on November 23rd. Shout out to November 23rd birthdays. But about to turn 38. There's a team option we're going to get to here in a moment. But I guess the headline for me, Matt, was his comments, and it's a long one. We're not going to read the whole thing, but that doesn't sound like a guy who's ready to hang up the cleats in 2023. Am I misreading something there? Like, when you read this, did that feel like a guy who was saying goodbye for good?
No, not at all. And I didn't think, even with how the season ended, I didn't think that was something that was on his mind. I think the bigger question, and I know we're going to get into it, is just where will he be playing next season and maybe even in 2024. But yeah, in terms of like actually playing, I fully, this is something that I would expect him to be looking ahead to, trying to still bring another World Series. Well, I guess I need to catch myself, not necessarily guarantee, bring one to LA specifically, but win another one in his career.
What did you make? I mean, I'll just jump. What did you make of his 2022? Obviously, started out really rough, had an unbelievable patch there, probably sort of the second third of the season towards the end. We can get into the numbers here, but like, would you qualify the 2022 season from Justin Turner's perspective or from the Dodgers' perspective as a success?
I don't think so, and I don't think he would either. I think the slow start he got off to surprised me in how long that went, because we've seen it in the past, right? Like, the joke is always that, the final week of March and throughout April, like, he's just not, there isn't the power yet, except for, there was the one outlier. I don't know. I can't remember if it was last year. It must have been. I'm pretty sure it was 2021. But the struggles sort of went more months, weeks into the season than I think any of us would have anticipated. And I remember we were doing videos during the regular season saying, hey, like, is Justin Turner going to be able to turn it around? Is Max Muncy going to be able to turn it around?
Yeah.
And then he did. And he was hitting, I think, exceeding probably expectations, right?
He was like batting, the best hitter in baseball for like a 45 to 60 day stretch.
Yeah. He was batting, 400 with a ridiculous OPS and all that. So, maybe you didn't expect that to sustain itself, but you figured he would get back to somewhere in the middle and he would be kind of the productive hitter. And I think we saw that. And, Andrew Friedman sort of alluded to it. And I know that Justin Turner, he won't use it as any sort of excuse, but it seems like whatever leg, foot, shin contusion that he had impacted him. And I think that was partly behind his postseason struggles. And, I think Freddie Freeman said it, and maybe a couple others. You also just have to give the Padres credit. Like, they're pitching, like, they pitched well too.
Yeah. Which do you want first? Do you want my pro Justin Turner argument or my anti Justin Turner argument? I'll let you choose.
Let's do anti.
The anti one's really simple. He had 13 home runs this season. That was the lowest mark he's had in a season since 2014. Obviously, now we're not including the 2020 year. And for a guy that there have been some struggles, there have been some concerns, I should say, about velocity, and that's the direction baseball is going. His inability to hit the ball out of the yard, I think, limits him. Now, that's pretty much the entire case. I mean, obviously, he's going to be 38, so I guess I should say that's the other anti-case is he's about to turn 38 in the next 3 or 4 weeks. That's pretty old for a position player, and so now, like, do you want to lock yourself into a Justin Turner who, is 2/3 of the time just going to be the DH and not really playing at third? I mean, he was fine at third. Like, he's regressing a little bit. He's not elite there anymore, but he's fine. Here's the pro for Justin Turner. He was 10th in the National League in batting average this year. That's crazy. He was 10th in all of the National League. He had 278, 350 on base, 438 slug. Like, those are solid numbers. A 788 OPS. It's not amazing, but it's pretty good. A 278 batting average in a league where guys aren't really putting the ball in play. You imagine that with shifts banned, that he'll benefit just like everybody else, which leads to the $16 million question, Matt. The Dodgers have a club option. They can pick it up or they can turn it down and he becomes a free agent. If you were the Dodgers, would you do it? I'm not asking what you think will happen. I'm asking if you were the Dodgers. If you were Andrew Friedman, you looked at the roster, You looked at all the decisions that whatever you want to do with Trey Turner and whatever you want to do with Cody Bellinger and whatever you want to do with Aaron Judge, and you get to the Justin Turner line on your spreadsheet. Are you saying yes or no to $16 million on a 1-year deal?
I would say no. I'd pay the $2 million buyout and then try to work something out for a 2-year deal at a lower AAV. And that's both what I would do if I were them, but that's what I expect the Dodgers to do. I'd be frankly surprised if they pick up the team option. Because I think, like you said, I think there's still some value there. And even if, you spread it out over 2 years, I think he still can be a productive hitter for you. And the third base DH, however that sort of sorts itself out. And obviously I think the Aaron Judge discussion factors in here because, or maybe not, if Mookie ends up playing second base because Aaron Judge is in right field instead of, DHing the majority of the time. But yeah, that's what I think I would do.
Yeah, and the roster construction is the interesting piece because we saw Miguel Vargas get called up. He's not a guy that you seem like you want to trust in the outfield. So third base seems to be the most likely position for him. So if Vargas is your third baseman, and based on how they treated him this year, I would imagine that next year is not out of the question for them to be counting on him as a somewhat regular contributor. Well, then where does Max Muncy play? And where does Justin Turner play? And where does Gavin Lux play? If Gavin Lux slides over to shortstop, then all your problems are solved because Gavin Lux plays shortstop, Max Muncy plays second base, Justin Turner's your DH, Miguel Vargas is at third. You kind of rotate some guys around as you need to, and things are solved. But if Trey Turner comes back and Gavin Lux is still around, then all of a sudden we're running out of spots for a guy like Miguel Vargas. And so, me personally, I love the batting average. I'm interested in bringing him back, even if it's at a DH role. I would be a little worried about a multi-year deal, and maybe the multi-year deal is kind of the same thing they've always done. Maybe it's like a 1-year deal with another club option tacked on to the end kind of a thing. Maybe they do the Trinan and Hudson thing where it's, hey, we're going to pick up your $16 million option in exchange for we want a $12 million option next year, something like that. I could see them doing. But I think what's interesting is we're just getting into that territory of Justin Turner's been an unbelievable ambassador. He's still very good at baseball. He's not elite. He's not an all-star, but you're 10th in the National League in batting average. You're hitting 280, 350 on base, 438 slug. Even if the 12 home runs, 13 home runs is like a career low, basically, you still feel pretty good about that, all things considered. I think it just factors into what do they think about Michael Busch? Do they want Michael Busch to start getting playing time? Miguel Vargas playing time? What do they do with Trey Turner? There's all these other decisions that are sort of floating around, and that's too much money to pay for a guy that's not going to be an everyday player, would be my bottom line. And so if you look at your roster construction and say, we think Justin Turner can still play 60 games at third base and DH, 90 times for us, then I'm fine picking up this number because I think the offense is going to be there. But if at some point you look at the roster and say, man, we can go get Aaron Judge, and all we have to do is not pick up the Turner option, let Miguel Vargas play, let Michael Busch play, and we can afford Aaron Judge, it's hard for me not to go down that road. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's definitely fair. I will say, though, with the Vargas component, he got a lot of work at second base. Honestly, like before games, 90% of the work, if it wasn't in left field, he was at second base. And so I don't know how much they fully trust him at third base.
Okay, fair.
Which honestly complicates matters a little bit more potentially, right? Because
of the Lux thing.
Right. And if at the obviously it was a report according to an unnamed source that Mookie wants to play second base. I think there's some merit there. I didn't do the video with you and Scott.
Oh my gosh. Don't get me restarted on Mookie Betts playing second base.
But
we need outfielders, Matt. We don't need infielders. We need we're talking about how many, we have too many infielders right now.
Yeah, no, I get it. I mean, I thought that was strange too, but if they're not going to do that, then I think you could see Vargas at second base, and maybe what we saw like this year, where it's then Muncy and Turner in a shared role at third base and DH, and you rotate however it.
And where's Gavin Lux?
Well, he's probably your shortstop.
Okay, all right, we're going down that. I mean, because if Vargas is second base, because of Muncy's positional versatility, it kind of presents the exact same problem, which is if Turner comes back and Vargas is up and Lux is still there and Muncy is still there, you've got 4 guys for 4 spots, which sounds fairly straightforward until you realize that leaves, do you want to trust Gavin Lux as your everyday shortstop? It doesn't include Michael Busch, again, another hitting prospect that, we haven't seen anything, didn't get called up, so there's maybe low expectations there. But it's a lot of interesting pieces here with the Justin Turner one. It's not, as simple. So many people want to make these decisions about, is Justin Turner worth $16 million? That's not the question. It's, is he worth $16 million? And do you have a place in the roster, in the lineup, where you can get value out of him equivalent to? Now, the other mitigating factor here is it's Justin Turner. He's the ambassador. He's the face. It's the Clayton Kershaw thing. You just keep giving him money until he doesn't want to play anymore. We'll see. I do think there's an element of, it's not quite Kershaw level. It's probably 70% of Kershaw level, not wanting to see him play somewhere else. But I think Turner behind the scenes amongst the Dodgers, I almost wonder if he's on the same level as Kershaw, because he feels like the guy that kind of is out shaking hands and is the face of the franchise from like a PR perspective, even if from a fan's perspective, it's Kershaw. Last question, I'll throw it to you, but I mean, you're around them more. Like, do you agree with that sentiment that inside the organization, he might be as revered as a guy like Clayton Kershaw is?
Yeah, definitely. And I think whenever, especially some of the younger players, if you ask them, who have you talked to, who have you kind of been learning from, just conversations around the batting cage and all that, Turner's a name that comes up regularly. And it was, obviously you have players mentioning Mookie Betts and Freddie Freeman as well, which is what you would anticipate from perennial all-stars. But I think the fact that Turner gets mentioned in that same breath speaks to kind of his importance within not just the clubhouse, but the organization.
Yeah, I agree. All right, well, that's Matt Moreno. My name is Jeff Spiegel, as always. We appreciate you guys joining us here on Dodger Heads, presented by DodgerBlue.com. Make sure to check us out on Twitter. You can find Matt and myself at the usernames below. Make sure you're following DodgerBlue1958 on social media. And, of course, make sure you subscribe, ring the notification bell here as well. We appreciate you joining us. As always, go Dodgers.